since I broke my leg. But that's all behind me now. I said that before.
But the injury problems continued and consigned him once again to the sidelines. However, it did give Ali a chance to watch one of the most talented players ever to come to Ibrox, someone who would go on to supply him with some irresistible goal-scoring opportunities.
Oh, brilliant. As I say, I've been really, really lucky. I've played with some really gifted players. I mean, some of the best in the world. Talk about, Gerrard, Cooper, Gascoigne, and Laudrup certainly comes into that category. Laudrup was a genius, an absolute genius. And looking at him, he shouldn't have been really, because his body didn't look made to be a football player. And I mean that in the right sense, because we used to call him long body. I didn't have to look at him. I knew that, if I tried to lose my defender, I could make a run, knowing that if Brian thought it was the right ball or the right run, he'd give me it, and inevitably he would, because he could come across people and put it in behind. He could take people on, lay it back. He just had, he had such talent. And I think it's safe to say that, if you made a run, Brian would see you. He created an awful lot of chances, an awful lot of goals for me, obviously, which I'm very grateful.
Those interminable injury problems would have depressed many players. Typically, McCoist's sense of humour and relish for dressing room wind-ups carried him through.
We've had a few. But this is a PG, I think, so I don't think I can divulge any of that.
At one period when we were doing well, I felt they were getting a wee bit lax, and our weekly weigh-ins, Alistair had put on a few pounds, which he's liable to do. Being a lad that looks after what he drinks and what he eats. So I was having a team meeting, and I thought, well, I'll threaten a few of them. And our goalie was famous for his dietary exploits as well. And I went through him and then into McCoist. And I said to McCoist, and make no mistake, if you don't adapt to it, then we'll get somebody else to come in. And I said, because I'm a wee bit fed up with you always coming in and putting the weight on. So he just sat there, and as I was leaving the room, which was a big dressing room at Ibrox, I just heard the voice saying, and where are you going to get? And I just remember leaving the room, and you always expect a comment, and as I was just going through the door, I just heard them say, and where are you going to get a 6-stone Biafran that'll score you 40 goals a season? and I just kept walking, but I couldn't help laughing, going down the dressing room area and back into our office.
1995-96 heralded a new start for Ali. His fitness had returned, and he had a point to prove against Celtic, who were returning to Parkhead from their temporary home at Hampden. The Celtic fans looked upon it as the dawn of a new golden age. But Ali had different ideas.
Gough also was there. It was very well won by Hughes. Didn't fall kindly for Miller. Gascoigne. Great chance there. It's in. It's a goal for Rangers. Scored by McCoist.
Gascoigne got a ball wide on the right and floated it across. And I just come in at the back post, and I think it was Tommy Boyd that just got above and headed it by Big Marsh. And away we went and finished 1-0. It was magic, because I think it was definitely, I was the first Rangers player to have a wee celebration dance right in front of the new jungle.
That season also saw the breakup of arguably the most potent striking partnership in British football, when Mark Hateley left Rangers for Queen's Park Rangers.
But I think it would be difficult for anybody to come in and play the way I played, for Alistair. I mean, we were a good foil for each other and for the team, because if one wasn't scoring, the other one would score. And if we were both scoring, then it was a doddle, really. Myself and Alistair, I think you class as a team within a team. I think if you look at striking partnerships through the 90, I think you would find it's possibly one of the most successful, if not the most successful one going. I think what myself and Alistair had at the club would be unmatched, I would say, for a long time.
But again, Ali would show his ability to refine his game and adapt to new partners. Inevitably, the main threat to Rangers' championship hopes came from Celtic. Rangers had already knocked them out of the Coca-Cola Cup courtesy of a McCoist goal when the big two met again in September, with Celtic at the top of the league. This time McCoist would be the provider for the new arrival at Ibrox, the shy, retiring Paul Gascoigne.
2 against 2 up front here. Selenko and McCoist together. That's good play by Selenko. McCoist has Gascoigne racing through the middle. It's great play for Rangers. And Gascoigne has scored!
I was probably as close to him at Rangers as MD. I've laughed with Gascoigne, I've fought with Gascoigne, played golf, you name it, we've done a lot. I feel honestly very thankful that Gascoigne was in my life. I look on him as a friend. He's an amazing character.
The irrepressible Gaza ensured that there was never a dull moment in the Ibrox dressing room.
The door was kicked open and he storms into the dressing room. I looked at him up. He's got a suit on, his bag, and he walks into the middle of the floor, dropped his bag, right? Waited till everybody was looking at him, just went and smiled, right? And did a complete turn. And what had happened was he'd been to get his teeth capped, right? But I believe they put in false ones before his real set get done. So he came in the morning with his like, false teeth at the front. The place was in uproar for 5 minutes, which is a long time. And he just kept turning and going like that. So we're all rolling about. I said, Paul, he said, what? I said, you could chew an apple through a letterbox with them, right? And we're away again. But his line at the end, it was, he says, you know, he said, I knew I was struggling this morning. He says, how's that, Paul? He says, I was walking out the door. And my dad says, Paul. I says, what? He says, all the best.
There might have been 1,000 laughs in the dressing room, but on the pitch, business was deadly serious.
Great header by McCoist. Rangers are back in the lead. And that was masterly.
At the time, there was a lot of superstars, as you know, in the team, signing for 4 million, 5 million, big money signings, and he made us feel just as good as like being a £4 million star. You go to Rangers, big club, feeling very nervous. First day, and he's, how you doing, wee man? And great to be here. Let's go and let's win 8 in a row, 9 in a row. Let's go all the way, and it was great, you know.
I firmly believe that a happy dressing room, it doesn't necessarily mean a good football team or a successful team, but I think it goes an awful long way to helping success in the park, and we certainly had that.
That attitude resulted in one of the most memorable Old Firm matches in recent years, the 3-3 draw at Ibrox, when Celtic were determined to collect their first win over Rangers that season.
Again, Goff's forward, so too is Petric. Again, there's a fair bit of movement the far side of the box. Gascoigne strikes it in. And it's there. Super Ali does it again. He's been in the field only a few minutes. It was Gascoigne who provided the cross. And McCoist with yet another header.
What a game of football that was. I was subbing, come on, and managed to score a second goal. And the look of disappointment when I scored the third goal again is unbelievable, because it's an OG Batosh. I was standing right behind him, half hoping he'd miss it. But probably the biggest memory of that game was the save the goalkeeper had from Van Hooijdonk. For me, it just summed everything up about the goalie. And there's no doubt in my mind he took great pleasure and obvious pride in performing well against Celtic. And that save just summed it up, because he had no right to make that save. And it was just a moment of football and genius. And I remember looking around after he made the save, and all the Celtic players were just looking at each other, you know, for some sort of support. You know, did you see that? You know, and it was brilliant.
A Rangers fan since boyhood, one of Ali's great heroes had always been Bob McPhail, a Rangers star in the 1920s. Many had thought his record of 230 league goals could never be beaten. Privately, it was Ali's most precious ambition to prove them wrong.
He was great with me, because right at the start of my career at Rangers, everything wasn't going according to plan.